everybody. First and foremost, it is holiday season 2024 at the time of making this video, and I'd like to take this opportunity to wish all my subscribers, followers, hangers-on, fans, and those of you just watching for the first time. I'd like to wish you all a happy holidays, no matter where you celebrate it or with who or how. Do so festively and, more important, safely, right? So happy holidays to everybody. It's been a great year, and we got a lot of more cool stuff coming this next year, right? So I know it's hard this time of year, but make sure you put aside a little bit of time every day in this hectic holiday season to play your guitar, right? Okay, so having said that, I just wanted to make this video to say happy holidays, and also just to leave you with something to think about here, right? All you open chord players, which is most of us, right? And now what you saw at the beginning of this video was just adding some notes to our chords, much like we talked about things like walk-ups and walk-downs, where we add a few notes in between to stitch the chords together in that open position. Here we're going to talk about some more extended runs off of our open chords, and whether or not we have to know, well, there's rules, and whether or not we can play certain notes. All right, so there's a few things, like anything with guitar, there's things going on in your head that you have to kind of figure out and calculate as, or, you know, while you're playing, or you got to be thinking ahead. And one of those things is something that we just did. Now let me explain. Do I need to know at the beginning that if I play an A chord and then I do something like this to an E chord, well, what do I need to know? Like, can I do that? Well, the first answer is, did it sound good to your ear? And if the answer is yes, then you're good to go, right? But look, the reality is, if we're playing on our own and we're got a backing track going and we're being creative, that or anything else that sounds good to your ear will work. But there's going to be times where we can't play what I just did, right? And those times will be one of these things. First of all, you're playing a certain song and you're trying to copy a riff identically, then you need to play the notes that the guitarist played in the original recording, and that would usually be from some form of a scale. And remember, all scales have a position that produces notes up here or down here, okay, where we play our open chords. So remember, the shapes that we learn, whether it's the minor pentatonic, the overall shape, that exists to make us or force us to play the 5 notes in that scale. Right? So we play that shape. We don't have to technically know the notes. As long as we play the pattern, it will produce the notes we need and the notes that we're allowed to play, right? And that's the same for the major scale or the major pentatonic or the blues or anything else. So when would we need to know this? Okay, so we've already dealt with the fact that if you're playing on your own, the ear is fine. Well, let's say we're playing with other musicians and they're in the key of A, and the one guitar player is playing his licks a la key of, or a la scale of the minor pentatonic. So that means that off of that A note, that root of the A chord, he has to go, or you have to go, to a C. Now you could play C here, you could take the C here, D, and E. Those are notes that you can play as part of that scale. You can't go up to and play the B, because the B doesn't exist in that scale. So those are times when you have to be aware that, hey, I just can't come off there and play a 4-note box. Because if I did that, and we're in A minor pentatonic, the B is no good, and coming off the E to the F sharp is no good. There's no notes in the 5 in the A minor pentatonic. So again, I would have had to done that, either that full stretch over to the C, or I would have had to taken my C, D, and E here, right? So then you have to be aware of what you're playing. Now, if you're trying to push yourself and learn as you go and learn properly, theoretically you should do the same. Even though you're not playing with other people and you're not going to mess anything up by playing a bad note or a sour note or anything like that, you should still, for your own knowledge advancement, if you're playing the major scale, then it's okay. I'm playing an A, I'm going to come off the root, right? This is very basic stuff. You're going to come off the root, and you're going to play this little 4-note box. And all those notes are fine because they're within your scale, okay? So that's when you really need to know what's going on. Other than that, you can just have fun. Now, if you stick to the whole Ray scale or octave scale, check it out. You can do things like this. Again, we'll use A, okay? Now, we could go 2, and we could go up, meaning lower on the guitar, and come up here and play these notes, and they're all going to sound good. We can make a little thing out of it, or we can go I mean, there's so many things we can do, right? If we just stick to that whole thing of 2 frets apart, 1 string at a time, up or down, and when we cross the border, we move everything up 1 fret. So we could sit here and make all these little, like we could play an A chord. There's an A right here. Now, at this point, I'm not caring what notes I'm playing and whether or not it belongs to only one scale, because I'm on my own, I'm being creative, and it sounds good, so I really don't care. But if I need to care, like I said earlier, well, let's see what we got here. We can't, again, depending on what scale we're in, we can or we cannot play certain notes, so we have to be aware, okay? So I'm just letting you know. But look at all the cool things that are here, right? We got all kinds of stuff here. Now, you can also play like an extended note run to lead into a chord progression. So let's say you're going to play a G and a D and a C. And that's the way you're going to begin your progression or your song. Well, I mean, you could do something like this. You could play now you've got your chord progression. Then you could even go back if you wanted to. Right? You can go back and forth as many times as you want. And we weren't really playing a specific scale. We were just playing notes that I knew were friendly because we're basing it on the octave thing, the Ray scale, which is 2 over and 1 string at a time. And when you go 2 frets over and 2 strings down, you're at the octave of the note that you started at. And that's all we're doing here, right? So, again, this open position has all kinds of stuff that we can do to make things a little more exciting. And for me, it started with playing my open chords, learning them well, and then starting to arpeggiate, right? And that allowed me to kind of get the ear for, hey, how individual notes sound within that chord. So all I'm doing now is, and we have videos on the channel about all this stuff, all I'm doing now is I'm holding my pattern, my shape with my fingers, and I'm just playing the individual strings of that chord. When I first started doing it, it was a D chord, and I remember exactly. I was strumming a D, and I just started, and I thought, holy jumping, that sounded pretty cool. And it came into this, right? And then I started to realize about arpeggios and how they were easy because I didn't have to do anything. I wasn't really playing notes or scales. I was just playing the strings, and then I started to realize about arpeggios and how they were easy because I didn't have to do anything. I wasn't really playing notes or scales. I was just playing the strings, and then I started to realize about arpeggios and how they were easy because I didn't have to do anything. I wasn't really playing notes or scales. I was just playing the strings, that are in the chord of the open chord. And then the next thing was little off the root notes. I was making little runs, and then back where I started. And I'd go to C and make little 4-note boxes off the C root. Then I'd go to D and make a little 4-note box off the D, and so on and so. And just, I mean, it wasn't really making music, but I was just getting used to the idea of running around playing notes around the chords. Then I started to think about what notes I was playing, what scales are they from, can I play them, etc., etc. And it's just a good exercise. And I just thought you would enjoy, a couple little tips